Franklin Delano Roosevelt, often referred to as FDR, was an important American Democratic politician who served as the 32nd President of the United States from 1933 until his death in 1945. Roosevelt was born on January 30th, 1882, in Hyde Park, New York, to a Dutch-American family made well known by his reputation of his cousin, Theodore Roosevelt, the 26th President of the United States. Roosevelt graduated from Harvard College and attended the Columbia Law School, but left after completing and passing the bar exam so he could practice law in New York City. In 1921, he contracted a paralytic illness, which at the time was believed to be polio, and lost all movement in his legs. Despite being practically unable to walk, Roosevelt returned to public office and won the election to be the governor of New York in 1928. He served from then until 1933 and promoted many programs which attempted to combat the economic crisis that was dawning on the United States. In the 1932 presidential election, Roosevelt defeated President Herbert Hoover by a landslide and took office amidst the Great Depression, the worst economic crisis in U.S. history. In the first 100 days of the 73rd United States Congress, Roosevelt spearheaded unprecedented federal legislation and issued a profusion of executive orders that instituted the New Deal, which is a variety of programs designed to relieve, recover, and reform the United States. He created numerous programs to provide relief to the unemployed and farmers while seeking economic recovery with the National Recovery Administration and other programs. He also instituted many major regulatory reforms related to finance, communications, and labor, and presided over the end of the Prohibition. He harnessed radio to speak directly to the American people and became the first president to be televised. The economy, having improved rapidly in his term, allowed Roosevelt to win another landslide re-election in 1936. However, the economy relapsed into a deep recession in 1937 and 1938. After the election, Roosevelt sought passage of the Judiciary Reorganization Bill of 1937, otherwise known as the Court Packing Plan, which would have expanded the size of the Supreme Court. The bipartisan conservative coalition that formed in 1937 prevented the passage of the bill and blocked the implementation of further New Deal programs and reforms. The U.S. elected Roosevelt in 1940 for his third term, making him the only U.S. president to serve for more than 2 terms. With World War II looming after 1938, Roosevelt gave strong diplomatic and financial support to China, the UK, and eventually the Soviet Union, while the US remained neutral. Following the attack on Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941, Roosevelt obtained a congressional declaration of war on Japan, Germany, and Italy. Assisted by Harry Hopkins with strong national support, he worked with the British Prime Minister Winston Churchill, Soviet Union Joseph Stalin, and Chinese leader Chiang Kai-shek in leading the Allied powers against the Axis powers. Roosevelt supervised the mobilization of the U.S. economy in an effort to support the war and implemented a Europe-first strategy, making the defeat of Germany a priority over Japan. He also initiated the development of the world's first atomic bomb and worked with other Allied leaders to lay the groundwork for the United Nations. Roosevelt won the re-election again in 1944, but because of the decline of his physical health in the war years, he died in 1945, less than 3 months into his 4th term. The Axis powers later surrendered to the Allies in months following the presidency of his successor, Harry S. Truman.